evening, everyone, and welcome to One Shul. My name is Patrick Aleph, and I'm the Executive Director of One Shul. We are an online Jewish community. We're pluralistic. We have live streaming Shabbat services, classes, and other online events. And I just want to welcome you to this event. It's wonderful to have you here. We're going to get started in just a moment. I've got a few things I need to adjust on my computer here, and we'll get started. Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to have you here. I recognize that for a lot of us, this is our first time at One Shul, so I'm honored to get to share this Shabbat with you. If you didn't hear me before when I was working on the computer, my name is Patrick Aleph, and I am a rabbinical student. I'm the founder of punktorah, which is an online Jewish nonprofit dedicated to independent Jewish spirituality. One Shul is one of our websites. We are a live streaming pluralistic Jewish community. And what does the word pluralistic mean? Well, we all know what reform means, and we know what conservative and humanistic, we've heard these terms before. Pluralistic means that we are all able to come together in one place. Now, we all have different views on religion and God and what we're supposed to do with all of that. But here at One Shul, everybody's validated. And we have an open forum where we can discuss how we feel about different spiritual issues. Because whether you believe in God or you don't, whether you take the Bible literally or maybe metaphorically, creatively, the one thing we can all agree upon is that talking and being together as a community is the ideal, that's what we want. So I know that tonight is a little bit of a unique circumstance. Obviously, it would be rude of me to not start by saying that we pray for everyone in Boston. I know that we have a lot of people from the Boston area who are in the chat room and are watching services tonight. And I know I've been seeing sort of in the chat room a little bit, people have been updating each other and all of these sorts of things, and I appreciate that. I really like knowing kind of what's going on. So thank you very much for that. We are using the Kabbalah for All Siddur. So this is a Siddur that has the Hebrew, it has English, it has some meditations in it, has lots of different kinds of text available. So I have included a link in the chat room where you can download that. If you have not logged into the chat room, I highly recommend that you do so. We want to encourage dialogue. We want you to ask questions and to be a community together. This isn't TV. You know, this is a live experience. Everyone who's in the chat room right now, you can see their faces. You can see my face. You can actually see my fiance's face because we have our picture together there. So please log into the chat room, create a name, connect it to your Facebook or to your Twitter or whatever you have. Let's get to know each other. So we're going to start services tonight by just saying where we're from. I know we have a few people from the Boston area. I'm from Atlanta. If you want to fill in the chat room where you're from, I'd love to know where our community is participating in services from. And while you're putting in the chat room where you're from, I just want to let you know that we are a nonprofit organization. We do ask a $5 to $10 donation for Shabbat services that you come to. Obviously, if you can't give that right now, we certainly understand. It does, unfortunately, cost us money in order to do all of the things that we do. So it's highly, highly encouraged that you give. There's a little donation button at the top right-hand corner of our website, Donate with PayPal. If you click on that later, you'll be able to do it that way. Obviously, if you feel uncomfortable about giving money on Shabbat, you can certainly do it afterwards. But it does cost us money to run the website and to do things like that. So we do really appreciate your help. It helps us to sustain the community, to grow the community, to improve our technology so that we're able to provide this. You know, it does cost money for us to provide this, so thank you very much for coming, for being a part of the community, and for assisting with the community as well. So let's take a look and see where everyone's from. So we got Jackson, Mississippi. That's a cool town. I went there once. Ontario. Of course, I'm in Atlanta. Arava's in Atlanta. Brockton, Massachusetts. Iowa City. Newton. Saying hi from Orlando, Florida. I was just in Orlando, Florida not too long ago. So it looks like we've got a really nice group here. I know we've got another person from Brookline who's here. So it looks like we've got a really nice crowd of people tonight. So again, please interact. Ask questions throughout the service. Feel free to respond, Amen, Amen, to a blessing that you hear. The Siddur is in the chat room there. You can click on the link. We're going to go through that. I also have additional writings and readings here that I think are really, I think, appropriate for tonight. This is probably going to be a very different Shabbat experience than you're used to. What I would say is surrender yourself to the newness of it, and I hope that it can be a healing experience. So I'm going to pull up the Shabbat Siddur here. This is a Siddur that we downloaded from a website that's really neat. Okay, so we're going to start on page 3, Psalm 95, and it's L'chuna Ranana. Now I'm going to sing certain parts of it, and then feel free to sing along with me if you want to read the English or you just want to take the time to meditate. But let's have the kavanah tonight. Let's have the intention that this is a healing experience, that this is a sacred experience, and that even in times of difficulty and in times of tragedy, we can still, even through the power of our emotional connection to each other, have the Sukkot Shalom. We can have that canopy of peace that protects us, even when we feel like everything around us is falling apart. L'chuna ranana l'Adonai, Nariya letzur yishenu, nekad mafanav betoda, bizmirot nariya lo. Arba'im shana akut bedor, v'yomer amam tolei levavhem, v'hem lo yadu durachai, asher nishpati v'yapi, mimyamun el munuchakti. There's a line here at the end of Psalm 95. Therefore I have sworn in my anger that they shall not arrive at my resting place. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry at people. It's okay to be angry at God. It's angry to be okay at the universe, at life. It's okay. Those feelings are natural, they're normal, and they come from a place of holiness. You are made in the image of the divine. And sometimes that includes divine anger when we see unrighteous acts around us. Psalm 96, Shir Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Baruchu Shemo, Basru Miyom Liyom Yeshuato, Sapru Vagoyim Kevodo, Mikol Ha'amim Nifleotav, Ki Gadol Adonai, Umulal Meod, No Rahu, Al Kol Elohim, Yai-dai-dai, Yai-dai-dai-dai, 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 Yai-dai-dai, Yai-dai-dai, Yai-dai-dai-dai, 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 Yai-dai-dai-dai. Livnei Adonai kiva, kiva lishbot haaretz, yishbot tevel, tevel bezedek, ve'yamim be'emunato. It says here, before God, for the eternal will have arrived, for the eternal will have arrived to judge the earth. The eternal will judge the world with righteousness and peoples with faithfulness. I'd like to pose a question to the room tonight, which is, do you feel that God will judge what has happened in Boston? I want to open up this conversation. Do we feel like God is involved in this process, that God is going to intervene in some way, that God is going to judge what happened? And I'd like to start a conversation. Do we feel that God is going to intervene at some point and is going to say, this was a horrible thing, and that there's going to be some sense of justice, some sense of righteousness that will come back? So I'd love to know. I know it's a hard thing to discuss, but I feel like if we can discuss some of this, if we can, talk about some of this, that there's a possibility there that we can, even if we don't have the answers, we can start to, we can start to at least ground ourselves a bit. So I'm going to give you a moment to think about what that means for you. Because we all have different ideas about what these words like God and judgment and righteousness mean. And that plurality is okay. And in fact, here at One Shul, because we are a pluralistic community, we encourage that. So Bash says, God already has by the capture of the suspect. So we have the suspect, it's been captured, and that this could be part of God's righteousness. And Tamara says, yes, I believe so. And George says, now that the second guy has been caught, I am relieved. I see God in people pulling together. Guest 502 says, God is involved. I think she is there aiding those who need her most. People are ultimately responsible, but the inner healing comes from God. Okay. So that was from Darian. Griesberg says, I believe God gave us the world to exercise our free will, preferring we follow his laws. His judgment will not be for us to see in this world anyway. So, looks like we have sort of three opinions here. So we have, one is that God is enacting judgment now. The other is that God is enacting judgment later. And the other is that God may or may not be acting out judgment, but there's a sense of God providing us peace. So I think it's interesting that we have all of these different opinions, but we're all together, at least. We're all together in this experience. I'd like to read a passage here. This is actually from the New Union Prayer Book. So this is the second prayer book that the Reform movement put out. I'm going to be reading a lot of different kinds of texts tonight, some from sort of more of the progressive Jewish community, and then some from the Orthodox community. I think that, one thing that we're seeing tonight is that although we have different concepts of what God is and how God is acting in all of this, I think it's nonetheless common that at some point through this tragedy we've felt a sense of loneliness. And that loneliness can either be because we're by ourselves. I know there's people in Boston who are sort of shut in. And for some of us, it's an emotional loneliness. It's the, what if that had been me? Or what if that had been my friends? Or what if that had been my family? So I'm going to read this from you. It's a poem about loneliness. I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. I have stood still and stopped the sound of feet, when far away an interrupted cry came over houses from another street. But not to call me back or say goodbye, and further still, at an unearthly height, one luminary clock against the sky proclaimed the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night. We all feel at some point a sense of existential loneliness, and a sense that we are alone in the universe. There's a conversation on Facebook the other day. If we're not friends on Facebook yet, we should be. You can click on that picture of the beautiful couple there. Me and my fiance, my little photo there. And you can friend me on Facebook. I'd love to friend you on Facebook. There's a conversation on Facebook that started yesterday and kind of continued into today, talking about what role does God play in life and all of these other things. And one of the comments that was made, I had written an article actually for Punktorah about what I thought God was about. And I'll post that in the chat room here. But someone said, what good is God if God's not answering our prayers? It was basically what the person said. And it's a valuable point. What good is this God if our prayers are not being answered? I mean, isn't that what we're taught, right? Aren't we taught that, that's what it's about, right? That there's this God and God's up there somewhere, and that this up there, out there, not who we are, God, this separate entity that watches us, is sort of occasionally deciding if we're good enough. And I made a comment that I guess could be sort of considered rude. I didn't mean it to be, but it's nonetheless how I feel. God's not a vending machine. You know, God's not a celestial vending machine, and if we push the right buttons on the vending machine, then we'll get the candy bar, you know? And at the same time, God's not a computer that we can push the keys and, you know, a bomb will go off somewhere, or, you know, the person who's been cruel to us will suffer some ill fate, you know? It's not the way it works. We know that's not the way it works. But we still cling to that, and I'm wondering why. Why do we cling to that? Why do we cling to that sense that God is only God if God is either on our side or against us? You know? Because that seems to be it. God is either for us or God is against us. And a God that is either for us or against us is a God that you can believe in. And that anything other than that is something that Judaism doesn't teach. I would make the argument that the reason why, you know, why we don't have that kind of God, why God doesn't work that way, is that, for me at least, you know, God is something that is beyond my human limitations to understand reality. So we have this sense as human beings that there is us, and us is something that is sort of inside this body. You know, it's inside the meat bag, and and the usness, the me-ness of me, is up here somewhere. It's wired up, and that I am experiencing reality. I'm sort of in this play called life, and there are all these actors in the play, and I'm interacting with them, and life just sort of happens at me. That I don't have any real control, right? That life is just something that's sort of broadcasting out there, and I'm an actor within my own life. And then when it comes to these big questions, these things about, you know, the nature of God and why bad things happen to good people, that's just sort of the tragedy part of the play. And then when good things happen, that's just the happy, you know, that's the romantic comedy part of the movie of life, right? You know, my dad once made the comment that